Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Practical Talk. I am your host, Heather Holloway. And boy, do we have a good one today because I'm bringing on Johanna Renoff. And listen, her company name is like goodbye social media. So she's jumping on this podcast right now to talk to a social media expert when she's like, I can promote without social. So I love this. I can't wait to hear what she has to say. But first, let's learn about her. So Johanna Renoff is a serial advisor and entrepreneur. She loves bringing new ideas into the world and see them grow and spread like the wind. She co-founded her first company when she was 20. And after that, her life path took her down many, many avenues. And, she's been in, is it a Gallerina? Investment fellow, cool, startup founder, a journalist, aspiring documentary photographer, a translator, a researcher, a tourist guide. And she says the list goes on and on. And in the end, she came back to her original love, which was entrepreneurship. And now she's run several projects and businesses that she's inspired by, life every day. And when she's not lit up by bringing new ideas into the world, she loves to sing opera. That's amazing. And she indulges in her love for art and design. She loves to hike the Alps, and that is where she's based. And she's been a digital nomad for many years, and she's excited to hit the road again in late 2022. So, Johanna, thank you so much for joining the show today. From the moment we met, I couldn't wait for this recording.
Thanks so much, Heather. I think I need a recording of this intro just for any day when I feel a bit so about my mood. I'm just like, I'm going to listen to Heather. You need everybody deserves an intro like you did just for me. So I'm so happy to be here. We already had so much fun talking, and I'm excited to bring it to your audience.
Yeah, I'm excited too, because, I live in social media marketing land. And here I'm going to talk to an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur that doesn't use social media to promote. And so, before we get into that little twist.
Is that even a thing?
It is today, my friend. But before we get into that little twist, take us up to this point. Now, I did read a little bit of your bio, but, how did we get to the buy social media?
How did we get there? So I've been, as you heard, or, as you told my story, I've been an entrepreneur on and off for over a decade. And it's kind of funny because even though I have quite a bit of experience with it when it came to promoting myself and my own work, I fell into this thing. I thought, I had to be on socials, I had to post content, I had to do XYZ thing. And I did that so I had a startup that ran. It was a tourism travel startup. I founded it in late 2018. It was supposed to go live to market in spring of 2020. So you can imagine what happened to a travel startup back then. I'm still glad I did it. The idea is still percolating, right? I still hope to bring it back. But so after that happened, and I was quite burnt out as a founder, I thought, you know what? I'm going to use that experience and coach other founders on how to build more work-life balance and how to be more mindful of everything that's going on in their lives. And I thought I was going to do the obvious thing and promote myself on Instagram because that's what everyone was doing. And I write a PhD on Instagram, right? So as a hobby, and I thought, this is going to be a piece of cake. I got this. And yeah. I tried for so many months. I resented it. I hated making the content. Every time I went on Canva to create a template or something, every week the feed looked different. I didn't like any of it. It was just such a long process of really just being very disgruntled with it, right? I was so unmotivated to do it. And in the end, I failed spectacularly at that business. I didn't book any clients. Nobody really came sort of into my field in a way. It was people sort of dipped in and out, and it was all very inconsistent and just not enjoyable. And after that, I really went back to the drawing board because I said, you know what, this isn't going to be the way forward. This really sucks. And if I ever want to do anything with business again, I have to figure out a different way to do it because it can't be that you hate the way you market yourself. Like that's not a thing. I didn't become, entrepreneurship for me is I love this process of making ideas a reality, right? And I have this slightly rebellious streak. I like being my own boss, right? And when you're your own, yeah, you're clapping. I'm clapping too. I just love it. And when you're your own boss, well, why would I make myself do something that I hate so much? That makes
Mm,
no sense whatsoever, right? So I went into this deep dive of, well, how else can I market myself? Because I'd been so focused on just being on socials and occasionally writing a newsletter that I sort of had blinkers on to all the options that existed. And once I dove deep into that, I was like, wow, all of this stuff exists, and how do I put it together? And the more
mm,
I started talking with other entrepreneurs about this, the more I kept hearing, similar complaints to what I had experienced. And it turned out that there were sort of two factions. It was either people who absolutely love socials and they really enjoy it, and they thrive creating that content. And I think those are usually the type of sparkly fun reels that you see that are really engaging, where it's just cool content, right? That's fun to watch. And I like watching that content. But what I don't like to see is sort of dead content that somebody's just producing because they have to, like I did in the past, right? And so I'm calling myself
yeah.
out on that too. So
Yeah. And I could
once
speak to that really quickly too, is, most of
do
the
it.
clients that we work with or any prospects that come to us, that's what it is, man. They're just throwing stuff out there just to
Mhm.
throw stuff out there. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And that, I think we can talk about this a bit more in a moment, because the great content deluge is and sort of this liveless content that we're seeing churned out a lot. I think that's bad marketing in general. But so once I'd gotten enough experience in that, and once I started seeing that there was a real need for it, as an entrepreneur, I was like, cool, okay, there seems to be something going on here. And then I was looking for a name, and it felt, I wanted something playful, right? Because the entire site is sort of 70s themed, and I do all these deep dives on old photos, and I try to have the language be as groovy as I can, and make it really light and fun. And I thought, you know what do we want to say? It's not like marketing without social media. That sounds so boring. And I thought, okay, no, it's about saying like bye, right? It's
Yeah, bye.
nice to have you. Like bye. I'm going somewhere where things are more fun for me. It's just like ciao.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here we are.
And here we are. And
Yes.
so at what year was that you made that switch?
Late 2021, early 2022.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you've been in it for okay, so late 2021. So that's a couple months from now, about 6 months or
Mhm.
so, 8 months or so.
Yeah, about
Uh
8 months.
about 8 months. And
Yeah.
so you said bye to social media. So how's life now?
Ooh, so I want to, as a caveat, I still have a personal Instagram account, and I have a personal Facebook account. I occasionally scroll. It's very nice. And what I do love about having made the switch is that for work, I don't have to be on it. I deleted my LinkedIn in March, Aprilish, and it was so nice. I felt like this
Wow.
whole weight had lifted off my shoulders, because LinkedIn was really the platform I struggled with the most. I couldn't Instagram is something, because it's visual, I kind of still connect to it a little bit, and just LinkedIn was, it never gelled for me. And once I finally allowed myself to not just not be on it actively, but really decide, okay, you know what? We're going to close the door on that one, and then just see where else, where greener pastures await me. And it was really nice. What I have noticed is I have a lot more time. I have a lot more energy. And I think
Mm,
because I spend less time on, sort of the menial tasks around creating content. And I think the other thing is because I've removed a really big element of resistance in my life as an entrepreneur. Because I think if you're listening to this and you're kind of wondering what's about, what's up with what I'm sharing, think about the person who's doing something and they enjoy it. Like I love being on podcasts right now. This for me is rejuvenating. This is fun.
oh, cool.
I could probably do 3 or 4 in a row, and I'd be so grateful that somebody has a conversation with me, right? And for other people, social media marketing can be like that. But for me, it wasn't. So I always had to motivate myself to get to the point where I was even willing to do it. And sure,
Mm,
sometimes, in our lives as entrepreneurs, we gotta motivate ourselves a little bit, right? I don't
mhm.
particularly love doing my monthly tax statements. There are more fun things to do than that. It's okay, but that's usually the one where I reward myself, with a little bit of a small treat and a really nice cup of coffee. And I,
There you
you know,
go.
I pamper myself around that, and that's fine. But when your marketing is like that and you have to do this whole work to even get yourself to do the work, you basically have to, you invest at least twice the energy first to get yourself to do it, and then of actually
Yeah.
doing the work. And now that I've stopped doing that, I have a lot more energy in general, and I also have more time to work on, because I manage more than one brand by myself right now. So I actually
Oh,
have
wow.
the wherewithal to do that.
Well, and
Um,
that's what I was going to bring up. You mentioned a bunch of gems right there, some golden
yeah.
nuggets. One of the things that stood out is that you said that you couldn't connect with LinkedIn. Like you couldn't connect. You liked your Instagram because it's, branding and photos, and
Mhm.
you can sort of connect with that. You felt it. But it sounds
Yeah.
like, LinkedIn was sort of closed off to you. So how can you
Yeah.
connect and serve in that way? Another thing that I love that you said was, remove the resistance. So like you just said, I couldn't connect with LinkedIn, so you removed it.
Mhm.
Then the output of that was more energy,
Mhm.
maybe more enthusiasm to get back into the things that were working and that you like to do. And my point is, with coaches and consultant or any brand that wants to
Mhm.
be on social, it is a huge energy
Mhm.
taker, huge energy taker. So if we're forcing ourselves to do these things, to stay motivated, to create content in hopes that we're going to get that client or that prospect, how then are we showing up for the world if we're like, oh, I gotta create another reel, I gotta put
Yeah.
out another post, we're not
Yeah.
showing up fully.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
So I
think,
guess they say this to let us off the hook with social media. Like maybe find the channel that you like and
Mhm.
dive into that. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you recapped it like that, because that's the thing. I think with marketing, there's not a one size fits all. And our companies, I wrote a sales page today, and I put, a little asterisk, and I said, look, if you like socials, this still works for you, and you're allowed to buy it. Like we still want to talk to you. It's just that our focus is, there's a lot of stuff going on for the people who want to be on socials, and there's very little going on for the people who have challenges, or even us having this conversation where we're talking about that it's actually possible and okay to be off socials if that feels better to you, and if that's more
Mm,
organic and aligned and you have more fun around that. Because I think so far a lot of and I see that a lot for coaches, consultants, people in the wellness world, I would say, also maybe people who are sort of in the beauty and fashion space, areas where people are now starting and running businesses without traditional business backgrounds. I think for a couple of years we really had this where socials were sort of the easiest no-brainer way to build a business. Do you remember when on Instagram you could have a cool photo and a good caption and appropriate hashtags and just build an audience like that? Those were awesome times.
long gone are
Oh,
those days, right? Because
yeah.
now what we need that money if you want to be seen,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
and
you're right. It was so much easier,
mhm.
it was lighter.
It was lighter and it was
Yeah.
fun, and I think there's still a little bit of we have a bit of a hangover in, let's say, in the entrepreneurship community around that, where back then I think it was a good option, especially when you look at, when I think about sort of entrepreneurship in the past 10 years, when I co-founded the company in the late 2000s, I worked with a family member. I was at union. I was mortified that anybody would find out that I run or co-run a business. I was like, oh my gosh, right? Because it was like, you're 20, you don't want to be the person who's walking around like, this is what I'm doing. And now entrepreneurship has become cool, right? And I would say in the past 5 to 10-ish years, it's really picked up. It's gotten a lot more accessible because of all the awesome digital tools we have, and it's
Yeah.
so much easier. And I think that's wonderful. And I think for a while we had this phase where there was a lot of, it was very dynamic on social, so you could build an audience more easily. Now it's really, you got to really know what you're doing, I think, in many, many ways. So
Oh,
it's really, it's professionalized so much. And
yes.
I think now that we're at this point and we know this is happening, it's really, I think, a good moment in time to reflect on, if you've got to know your stuff on any marketing channel right now, and there's not this sort of notion of, I don't want to call it accidental success, but I think some people just put out content in those days and were like, oh, this is working, awesome, and then they started building an actual business around that. I think now it's a bit more complex and you have to approach this a bit differently. And if you have to know your channels anyway and have to make a conscious decision around it, then just choose the one that actually feels good to you and choose the one that sounds like fun, because you're going to be sticking with this for a really long time if you want to build a
Yeah.
business.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I would, little pro tip there, the three most popular channels, and in this order, it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. And those are the big three. So, if you want to get on social and if you want to do that, those are the most popular platforms. But let's get off of the social talk.
Yeah.
So how do you like,
Can I
what are
can
your
I just
secret Go ahead.
I kind of don't want to jump on your train, and at the same time there's one thing I want to add, because I'm so glad
Yeah.
you mentioned YouTube. I think
Yeah.
what's interesting to me about socials, and what I also kind of hadn't really clocked when I was trying to market myself on social, is
Yeah.
the whole idea of which channel has the most half-life for the content you're putting out. So Twitter is really fast-paced. You post, it's gone.
Yeah.
And things like Pinterest and YouTube, actually, because they're searchable, your content lives on there a bit longer. And that also was one of the things where now in hindsight, I'm, probably wouldn't have like putting out videos at the same time, maybe because I'm more about longevity and marketing. I'm a little lazy also, right? I like to take the easiest, I like to take the path of least resistance, at least. So
Yes.
at least the idea of making a video and investing the work, and then at least, it's searchable, somebody can find it, it lives maybe
Yes.
5 years after this, you can really build this sort of library of awesome stuff that you're putting out in the world. I think that's for people who are considering socials, that might, and where it's appropriate, of course, for in terms of the niche and the type of business they have, that might be a more chill way to do social media than
Mhm.
something like Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, where posts are just, they live
Yeah.
for 24 hours the most, or even less, and they're gone.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. For the most part, social has such a short
Mm.
shelf life. And so, the name of the game there is, if you want to, if you want to survive the social game, is how can you put legs underneath the things? How can you get
Mhm.
more out of the things you are currently doing on social?
Yeah.
Because man, yeah, yeah. YouTube is a lot of fun. And like you said, it lives on, and it's the second largest search network too,
Mhm.
search engine, because of Google. So um yeah, but I mean, you could always put your podcast on there if you want to. You could
Yeah,
always do that.
for
Yeah. Yeah. If you
sure.
want, if you're connected to YouTube. Okay. So
Feel like
okay.
that might almost be allowed for us.
Yeah. Okay. So you're out there cranking on your business, growing your
Yeah,
business
yeah,
without using social media. So what do you
yeah.
think one of the biggest not tools, what do you think is the what's working? What's working for you? Is
Yeah,
yeah.
what's working for me. So when I went through this entire process of hating socials and trying to figure out, where I wanted to go, I actually sat down and thought about business and how I went through this really long process of figuring out, what do I want, what do I need, and how can I build the digital environment around that. So,
Mm,
and I'm sort of, I want to share a bit more of the meta level thoughts about this, because then somebody who's listening to this can maybe take this away also, and I can share some examples. So I knew, for example, that I wanted something where when I set it up, it runs for a while. And
mm,
so, or it's infinitely scalable. And I really like email marketing for that. I like to
okay.
write. And I was conscious of course, now that I tell it, I'm at the end of the process, so I can give you the concise version of everything I learned. It was a bit of a process of trial and error, right? Of figuring out what's going to stick for me and what isn't. I've come to really love email marketing, because especially if you're just by yourself as a coach or a consultant, or if you have a very small team, email is nice because you set it up once and then you can do automations and it just runs. And it
Mhm.
takes a bit of upfront investment. And at the same time, once you've done that, it doesn't matter if 10 people sign up for your freebie, or you get mentioned in Forbes and all of a sudden you have 1,000 new signups, right? It doesn't, and I love that about it. And I think that's really great for small and micro businesses, because your business and you don't break when you scale. Because that's one thing I noticed about how I had set up my business before, is if the scaling fairy had come around and put magical scaling fairy dust on it, the business wouldn't have broken. I would have broken because I wasn't
Mm,
equipped to handle a sudden influx of client. And of course, that I think there was a sort of intuitive knowing about this. And I also sabotaged a lot of things, self-sabotaged. And now
mm,
that I know that my products are set up in that way, I do a lot of email courses also where people get content from me in their inbox every day, every week, with audios and descriptions. So I really put that into practice in how I create products as well. I liked email a lot. I I know that I love to talk. So what I do is, when you look at a funnel, it's just a very basic funnel of how do I get people to
yes.
join my world. I use podcasts a lot for that because I feel like this idea of marketing without social media, well, first, it really caters to me. It caters to my strengths. It's something that I
Mm,
tremendously enjoy doing, and I hope it comes through. And the other thing is, it needs, because I'm by myself right now, at least it needs to be replicable, right? It needs to be
mm,
something that I can do easily, that rejuvenates me, and that introduces people to this idea that it's possible to market without social media. This is the person who suggests that you do it, which I think, when we talk about marketing, the like, know, and trust factor, I think it's a lot easier for somebody listening to this to get a better picture of, well, who's this person? What are they doing? What's their
yeah.
company about? In the longer conversation, they can kind of check out, the vibe. They can listen to my arguments, why I think there's the pros and cons. And I think that makes it a bit easier to also sell something like we're doing, in a way that, for me, I'm sure there are people out there who can phrase it in a punchy Twitter post. I just can't. I need to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I quote unquote fill the funnel like that. And then
Wow.
the email marketing already does quite a bit of stuff. And I have digital products that I saw, and I'm about, I formally started the company. I started putting things out beyond the newsletter I was writing just in late May, early June. So the products are just, now I'm publishing them one after the other, launching them, soft launching them one after the other.
Nice.
And yeah, which is really, really cool. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the funnels I have, they lead to whichever different product. And then I also offer one-on-ones. And I do, for that, in terms of the marketing, I do sort of qualifying pre-calls where we can check if we actually vibe. Because
Love that.
because if you want to work with somebody one-on-one, you need to make sure that they're actually, well, they want to work with me and that they
Yeah.
feel comfortable around me. And also the other way around, that I feel like I can actually help them. And for
Yeah.
that, I like that type of funnel. I know I should be doing more SEO, but I've been really focused on product creation and doing the email marketing automations, and also podcasts. And then, I also do workshops in communities to expose this work to, pre-existing audiences and groups where there's already a bit of a match, right? So I talk mostly in entrepreneurship, female founder communities, things like that,
Yeah.
because there's already a bit of an overlap. Also to fill the funnel right now, and because, we're quite early, so I need to build an audience first, and then I can think about other things. And two things that
Right.
are on my mind for marketing is SEO. Once I'm past the finishing stages of product creation, which is very soon, to begin building that out more consciously. And then the other one is, I'm also playing with a newsletter referral tool just to grow my audience organically. That's going to be so
Yes.
fun.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. So you're speaking to sell
Mhm.
both digitally. Are you doing any like live, like anything in your local
Not
community, or are you doing everything digital?
I mean, not in the local community, because it's a
Yeah.
very small alpine village. I don't
Oh,
think
cool.
people here are gonna be so. Oh, I have to tell you, this is so funny. I like recording my product audios and my podcast audios in nature whenever I can. And
Oh,
I
I
yeah,
love
I have
that.
a course on digital wellness for the other brand, and I went to the forest in spring specifically because I wanted to have nature and bird sounds around so that when somebody would be listening to these, tips on how to turn off your phone notifications and be more chill around your digital, devices and Instagram, you would have these lovely forest sounds. And I went back to the forest to record a module on why to leave social media for this course I'm putting out now. And all of a sudden I hear a sound in the forest and this deer hops out. And the term, like a deer in headlights, there's definitely something to it. It was just staring at me, just listening as I was talking. Like, what is she talking about? And then it ran off into the forest and I was just standing there kind of, my mind, the comic strip started running. I was like, oh, it's probably running home and telling its friends that Deerstagram is not the thing anymore.
Right. Deerstagram. That's right. That's right. Oh man. Yeah. Oh, that's so cute. Wow. Wow. There's so much to unpack there. I love that. I love how intentional you are. You're speaking it, man. You're like, I'm going out into nature so you can get this, so you can feel it, so you can hear it. Oh, how calming, how lovely. Right? Oh, because nature heals all, man. I love that. Wow. Wow. Okay. Wow. Amazing. You're doing it. And so by doing that, like, how long has it taken you to build or how many people do you have on your list? Are you still continuing to build and grow? And
yeah. We're just, we're just
a bunch of people.
Still bunch of people. It's been growing quite fast, and I like that.
Wow.
We have, I think I'm launching. This is all very exciting, right? I'm launching a live course later this year, and it's going to be interesting to see how that works because the list is still fairly small. We're not talking about like 3,000 people because this has been going on for a couple of weeks now. So it's going to be really exciting to see how that works with a small list. And at the same time, I'm conscious of, also if you're somebody who wants to launch something with a small list, I'm figuring out a way that works with affiliates that's a bit different to what we're seeing in the affiliate space, where it's sort of big course creators and then they, just pay people to run basically affiliate type businesses, because that I think would work for this. So I'm figuring out something else where it's a bit more with people who are already on brand, on mission for this, and who have pretty tight-knit established communities to sort of create this network of selling around it that feels quite organic, a lot more than, I would say maybe a more pushy way to do sales. Because I want everything I do, I think I do it because one, it's really fun for me to just bring ideas to life. And I want to see this succeed in, huge ways. Because I heard a couple of weeks ago, I heard a marketing podcast by somebody who's really sort of super well known in this field of online business marketing for small businesses. And they said, it's impossible to build a company without social media. And I was like,
oh dear.
It is not. I will show you.
Yeah. Well, what's funny? Up until Q4 of last, what's that?
No, and just to show, not so much to prove them wrong. I was like, okay, this is firing me up, because if they think and their audience thinks, it's not possible, then somebody needs to show it is, to at least show the option, right? And then somebody who's listening can choose, okay, cool, actually, right? Or yes, but.
Yes, but there's, and there was hidden agendas in that person. I'm sure hidden agenda somewhere in that show of you got to be on social because I can help you, get into my thing,
I have this course on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you're not, you're susceptible to those messages from these quote gurus. If you don't go out and get a different perspective, right? Because and you got to go inside. What works for you? What's going to feel right for you? It all comes back to feeling, right?
Yeah. And I think I love, this is so fun because online gurudom is one of my pet peeves on the internet. And I think it's really, I think when you look to somebody who's starting out in business, and I certainly did that too, there are a lot of people putting out a lot of content, and a lot of that content is made with good intentions, of course, also to sell. Sure. I talk about the products I'm making, right? And it's up to somebody listening, reading, whatever, to check it out and see if they respond or not. I'm very relaxed about stuff like that. And at the same time, this gurudom, I think, creates this notion where I'm very conflicted about this, because there's this inbuilt hierarchy, like I know everything and you're sort of down here and you need to trust me that I know what I'm saying. And I think it takes away agency from people. And this whole, to get a bit philosophical about it, I think this whole journey of business really is, one, it's personal development on jet fuel, because you can't hide anywhere in your business. You can't hide behind anything, because it's all, your business will show you where you need to grow. And the other thing is, your best practices are there for a reason. I'm big on newsletter marketing or email marketing, because I think it creates a bit more a sturdy foundation, especially when you're by yourself and you at least have the email addresses, and you can do something that's a bit more regular, that also nurtures your energy with automations. And at the same time, if it's not for you, then you're totally free to figure out what else you could do. Or maybe networking is really great for you, or those people who just build businesses organically because they're people geniuses. That's not me.
Yeah.
I have to look for other ways. So it's important to look at what you're good at. And I think this, and what you enjoy, and what comes, where's the path of least resistance. And when we have these gurus that tell us, this is the way, you got to do it like this. If you don't do it like this, major FOMO, because you're missing out if you're not on TikTok. Well,
yeah.
In the end, it's exactly what you said. You got to go and check back in with yourself and see, does this resonate? Do I actually want to do this? Does this make sense? And where does that person where are they getting their authority from, right? Because just because somebody has a big following, the social proof around that, it's a component, right? You can see, okay, a lot of people are seem to trust this person. Okay, there's something for me to check out. At the same time, I mean, this, if you have a smaller following and they're really engaged, that's actually great, because
Even better.
You can buy followers very easily for the metrics and for the looks. So there's a lot going on with this, and just this I don't know, this archetype of the online guru that tells people what to do is just really, I'm really unhappy about that, because it's keeping people in places where they're more disempowered than they're actually empowering them. So be careful.
Wow. Yeah, be selective. It's your business. You get to call the shots. So we're wrapping up here. This has been a phenomenal episode. I just want to talk to you for like 17 hours. So maybe we can just do an online summit for like 20. Online summit. Wait. Yeah, we could do an online summit. We don't have to do social media. Yeah. Sure. Just because we don't do social doesn't mean we don't do digital. But okay. So how about
I'm sending messenger pigeons around with
right. That. Physical newsletter in the mail. No. We're still using digital tools, but okay. So what is excuse me. So sorry. What is a parting piece of advice that we could give out there, maybe struggling entrepreneurs who think, oh gosh, I just, like you just said, the gurus and this and that and TikTok and Snapchat, what's maybe a calming piece of advice that we can give to us entrepreneurs out there?
Oh, I love that. So the first thing I would look at is, where have you made somebody else's should your own must, which means where have you internalized all these messages that we're just digesting, right, by scrolling, by reading online, and where have you taken a piece, it's just a piece of information, and transferred into something where you think you must do it, or that's the way to do it. And really, especially when you have resistance come up around business, see if you heard somebody say that online, including also me talking about this. Really do a bit of an internal inventory and check, is this actually my idea? Is this somebody else's idea? Is this a good idea? Does this work for me? And if I have reservations about it, what's coming up, right? Do I feel resistance? Do I feel FOMO? And that leads me to why I'm doing this. There's really a lot to unpack here. So that would be my first advice. And the second one is, because I had a conversation with an entrepreneur this week who did her entire marketing on the Meta suite of products, Facebook, Instagram, and a Facebook group, and they got locked out of their account for, there was a data breach somewhere. It wasn't their fault, and their account is gone. And
And that happens more often than you think. If you're sitting there thinking it won't happen to you, just be careful. Yeah.
Yeah. So their entire business is gone, which gosh,
Oh,
can you imagine? Can you
no.
imagine? So the one thing, even if you love being on socials and, more power to you. I like watching funny reels occasionally, or I actually like carousel posts better, but hey, if you're really into socials, just make sure you do something where you could build a community off Facebook on a platform like Circle or Mighty Networks or Slack. You could write a newsletter and collect people's email addresses. I mean, heck, you can do text marketing if you want to do that. Just build a platform for yourself where you own the channel, you own the marketing channel, just to make sure that you hedge your risk, right? We, as you were saying, we hear this, it happens more often than I think we talk about it. And we always believe it's not going to happen to me. And just make sure that you buffer your risk. You make sure that you're not reliant on one platform to feed into your business and to maintain your business. That's stress you don't want to experience. After this conversation this week, I can tell you the stress that you want to avoid.
Yes. You don't want to wake up and it's all shut down and gone. So we try to tell everybody. In fact, we're a social media marketing agency, but we want to get people just like you off of social and into that email list or some sort of database that you hold, own, and control. That is your biggest asset.
Yeah.
Your list. Yeah.
It is.
Cool. So you have something to offer here. We have the Bye Social Media 101 course.
I love how you're saying that.
Well, listen, I don't know if you've heard of this show. It's called RuPaul's Drag Race. Okay. Yeah. Well, there's this one drag queen. Her name is Alaska, and she would go bye. And so my best friend started saying it. I can't help it. So feel free to take it. Bye. So she has Bye Social Media 101. It's a course you can get started on getting off of social marketing. And you go to buysocialmedia.com/ well, actually, it's a pretty long keyword right there, but so we'll put it in the show notes. All you need to do in this podcast episode is go to the show notes and click on the link to get that Buy Social Media 101 course. So we're saying goodbye to social media.
Exactly.
And I'm all about it. I'm in. I'm promoting it, man. Like I am in. This is so, because it's so good, because social isn't for everyone. Social isn't for everyone. And there are other options out there. And so we implore you today to go out and seek the truth. You have your mind brain and you have your gut brain. So when you're listening out there and someone's telling you, do 17 TikTok whatevers in a day, and you will grow your list, 10x your list by going on TikTok today. You don't need to fall for that. Check out this Buy Social course, Buy Social Media 101 course. Bye. So check that out in the show links. Johanna, this has been a fantastic episode. It feels so nice to talk to you. You're so amazing. You have so much value to bring. And I hope people go and search you out on buysocialmedia.com. So thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me, Heather. I had so much fun. This has been one of my favorite podcasts so far. I don't think I've had this much fun with anyone. And I'm actually really, I also wanted to thank you and acknowledge you for seeking out this conversation, because I wrote to you and I'm like, so you do social media marketing. Are you down to have a conversation with me? And I think it speaks volumes to who you are as a person and how you approach life. Like, oh yeah, sure, let's do it, because there's value in this for my audience. And I'm really glad that I had a chance to be here. So thanks so much.
Oh, wow. You're so sweet. Thank you so much. Well, until next time, from Johanna and me, we say bye. I'm Heather Holloway, and you've been listening to Practical Talk. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me and my team. Hey, remember, check the show notes for resources and links to other episodes. And don't forget, new episodes are released every Wednesday.